Yo, what's up everybody? So I know it's been a while. I haven't uploaded anything since my first video, and we're actually gonna pretend that that video never happened because it was garbage. But anyway, so what we're doing here is I picked up this 98 GSR along with a couple other cars, in which we'll get to those two later down the line. But this is our priority right here. This is a 98 numbers matching GSR, and as you can see, it's not in the best condition. It's not horrible, but it needs help. I rescued it from some kid who just really didn't know what he was doing, and I mean that in the best way possible. Nothing against him by any means, but it was rough, even rougher than where it is right now. It had a full eBay ITR kit going on, which is fine, but if you're going to do it, you have to do that right. You can't just be slapping stuff on. So I decided to take all that off, and my goal here with this car is I want to take it back to all original OEM spec. I mean, stock ride height-ish, get rid of most of the aftermarket stuff, fix the body because it's not in the best condition, get it painted, and get it sold to someone who actually wants an OEM car or wants a good base to start from. I feel like this car would be perfect for that. I'm daily driving it currently, just because I actually traded the car I had for this car like an idiot, but I have a thing for Integras. That is what it is. So overall, you have to excuse the mess in here. The interior is actually in really good condition. When I got it, the front seat was ripped. It's typical with the leather seats, which I had a good seat, so I put that in there. This passenger seat does have a rip in it, but it's at the seam, so we can sew that shut. That's not a problem. Other than that, outside of it being dirty from daily driving use, it's actually really nice in here. Honestly, the best part of this entire car. Other than that, like I said, the paint, it's sun faded really bad, as you guys can see. It's got dents everywhere. It's got some surface rust starting to bubble, which we'll address that as part of the restore that we're doing. It's got the holes from the wing because it had an OEM wing on it, but like I said, they put a knockoff. Actually, it wasn't even an ITR wing. It was a Mugen Gen 2, I believe, aftermarket wing, the one that has little lips that come down here. It looks like garbage in my opinion. I wouldn't recommend it. This side isn't bad at all. Like I said, just a little bubbly surface rust. The way I figure is if we get to it soon, especially before the winter hits, we shouldn't have a problem. But other than that, there's like just like door dings, stuff like that. Fenders are a little beat up. It is what it is. I mean, the car is old, so we're gonna save it. That's the plan here. So I guess I could pop the hood for you guys. It is an OEM GSR car, numbers matching and everything. It's got a Skunk 2 intake manifold, which I don't mind, but I wish it did have the factory butterfly intake on it. The Neo Speed bar, which is cool. I haven't seen one of those in a while, but we're pulling that off as well because it's going on my other car. The AC is intact and it does work. The only other thing is obviously aftermarket Megan header, but it's coming off. As you can see, it's cracked right there and it's missing bolts, and I'm not sure if they're stripped out, but I think the gasket's actually covering the hole partially, so I can't get a bolt in there, but we'll address that. Other than that, it's got 230,000 miles on it at this point. It does have a little consumption up top, as most GSRs do. It's not a big deal. I'm not worried about that. Sorry, let me get this more zoomed out. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to restore it. So today what we're going to focus on is I have new struts over there in that box because this back one's blown out. What we're going to do is we're going to replace the strut and spring assembly on this car. I have some Amazon struts here, which came in 2 separate boxes, which I was like, yo, what's going on here? But they sent this little guy right here stating that just because it's in a different box doesn't mean anything. It's the exact same parts. That's all that matters. And then we have some Eibach Springs here that I got from a buddy of mine that are in really good condition. The struts, however, were just rusty and I didn't want to run them, so I tossed those away. But we are going to run the springs. So to drop the car, I think like 1.5 inches from factory ride height. And honestly, I think it should look good and it should ride a lot better. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get the car jacked up. We're gonna focus on the front first, get the front assembly all taken apart. I need to get the top hats and everything off the springs that are already on there. Toss them on those bad boys over there, and we'll get it going. So if you guys hear any like random screaming or yelling, I do live across the street now from a an assisted living home that has people with mental disabilities, and every once in a while you'll hear something. It's not necessarily bad, there's nothing wrong with them, you know, it's just part of the living that they do. So I'm gonna put this down, I'm gonna get this jacked up. I'm not gonna do a how-to because there's a billion of those out on YouTube, but I'll get everything taken apart and we'll start swapping stuff off. All you really need is basic tools. I'm running the basic little Cobalt set, my little DeWalt impact, my big Chicago electric impact just to get the wheels off. Hopefully nothing seized up on it. It shouldn't be, because like I said, all this stuff's already been taken apart at one point in time anyway. But then again, I live in the Midwest, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna get this put down, get this thing jacked up, and we'll start working on the suspension. There it is. So that's out. The ground controls themselves are in like superb condition, actually. It's nice. I'm going to end up reselling them because I don't need them. It's my other two cars on full bodies. One's on PIC, and then the Civic's on some function forms. So you do this for both sides, and once they're both off, I'll show you, well, I'll do this one first, but I'll show you how to remove the top hat, get all that stuff out the way, and like I said, we're going to be transferring the top hat and everything over to the new struts because the bushings actually don't look bad at all. So I'm going to get the other side off, and I'll bring you guys back once they're both done. Alright, so now that I have both fronts out, the process that we're going to do here, and I would not recommend this by any means if you're on stock suspension and you're doing this, but however, since these are adjustable, and as you can see, they're actually not even touching the collar at all, they have like no tension behind them. So actually, I don't think this one's in that good of condition either. Oh well. What you need to do is you gotta knock off this 14mm right here. That'll pull the top hat off. Like I said, if you're on stock suspension, do not do this because it's pressured and it will knock you out, break a finger, break your hand. Like I've seen some stuff, and it's not a pretty process. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock these off real quick, get these top hats off, get them transferred over to the other the new struts, and I'll bring you guys back here in a second. All right, so we got the new struts out. They're just some Amazon. I think I paid 70 bucks for the front and rears. There's some OE replacements. So we're gonna get these guys out. First things first, I feel like a lot of people forget to do this, but put your bump stops in. They literally save the life of the shock and spring setup. Like they have a purpose. Make sure they go in. So we'll get these guys pulled out. I'm gonna put those on. Got some extra hardware just in case. Let's see which ones are the fronts. I believe that I marked them. So, rear. So we have the two rears right there. Let's get those over. These are the two fronts. So these guys, this side, the smaller side, is going to point down. It goes towards the bottom of the shock itself. I'm going to go ahead and slide my bump stops on, put these on, and then we're going to reverse the process of putting the top hats back onto these and then sliding them in the car. I'll bring you guys back once that's done. Alright, so I got the front all set and done. Like I said, the installation is just a reverse of taking it apart. It's a no-brainer. If there's anything that I missed, because I probably missed a lot in terms of if you had questions, there are so many YouTube videos out there. Go support other YouTubers, please. So now we're going to move on to the rear. With this, in theory and on paper, it's easier than the front. However, the problem is that this is a Midwest car, so things like the rust. So I'm hoping that it'll be friendly. So, oh, I didn't even know I had that. Nice. So what you want to do is obviously you're going to take this bolt out, the two 14s up top, and I try to avoid messing with this inner bolt on a low control arm going to the trailing arm. As you can see, I mean, it's rusty. It's a little car. I also live in Illinois, so it is what it is. Because that one tends to either strip or break completely and get seized up in the bushing. So we're going to leave it alone. You want to hit this guy and this guy. You might have to drop your sway bar if it doesn't come down low enough, which is fine. Those bolts actually typically come out really easy. But once you do that, it's the same process as the front. I'm going to take the top hats off of these, move them over to my new rear shocks, and go ahead and put everything back together. I'll bring it back whenever everything's said and done. We'll go on a ride, see if the quality's any better. The car wasn't super bouncy by any means, but you can tell that the struts were just not happy. Also need to figure out what's going on here with this ABS wire. But once I get done, I'll bring you guys back. We'll see how the car sits and we'll go from there. All right, so I figured I'd update you guys from the rear real quick. I'm on the driver's side, and as you can see, I mean, this does have aftermarket low control arms on it, but the bushings are completely gone. And I still have that inside bolt in, and that bushing's gone as well. So now I'm going to fight with that. I got my torch out. It's going to be a little bit of a process. I'm not going to bore you with it. It's going to be a bunch of cuss words and angriness, but I got to get it done either way. So I'll see you guys once both sides are completely done. All right, so here we are. Dude, let me tell you, like, I fought with the driver's side a little bit, but the passenger side came out like straight butter, and that's really surprising, all things considering. The lower control arms were shot, the bushings were shot. Luckily, I had another set that was supposed to go to my white car in there, but it is what it is. I'd much rather have them on this and it drive correctly as opposed to hitting a bump with those and, you know, God knows what. But these back struts were just toast, unfortunately, which is what it is. Like I said, I'm gonna pull these off and we're gonna sell them. Whoever wants them, I'll probably end up putting them on eBay. So yeah, I torqued the wheels down. Of course, always torque your wheels, you don't want it to fly off. And another good practice is I tightened up all my lower control arm stuff, all the bushings and everything down here while the car is on the ground. That way there's no binding and you actually get, you know, the maximum life that you can out of these things. And I mean, these lower control arms are just some cheap eBay, I think they're Emusa, M-U-U-S-A or whatever, but they'll work a lot better than what I had. So I'm gonna clean up out here and I'm gonna go for a test drive and we will see how it drives. All right, so I was looking for a test drive and let me tell you, dude, it's like night and day difference. Absolutely. It doesn't sit too bad. It's sitting at an incline right now, so it looks like it's sitting a lot higher in front than it actually is, but it is really, really, really comfortable. I couldn't be happier. I mean, it took me 3 hours, if that, and dude, so much better, so much. So I'm happy with the result of the suspension. Next we're going to move on to doing some things in the engine bay. It needs a valve adjustment, so that'd be the next thing that I attack, and then after that we'll probably start working on the body. I also have stock exhaust coming forward. It's not too loud. It has a World Sport exhaust on it with the factory, well, aftermarket, but with an actual catalytic converter in it, so it's not like super loud, it doesn't drone. But like I said, we're taking it back to stock. So until next time, probably be within the next week, I'll see you.